Welcome to episode 13 of the LoraineCounty.com Business Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Ed Skimin, and today we're talking with Ted Esborn, Community Development Director for the City of Avon Lake. Join us as Ted talks about the formation and evolution of the Avon Lake Community Development Department, including its planning, zoning, and economic development divisions. He'll share insights into the services and programs aimed at supporting businesses, the department's impact on the community, and trends in land development. Ted also shares his personal journey to Avon Lake and the unique identity of the community. I've known Ted since shortly after he arrived in Avon Lake in 2016. I can personally attest to how tirelessly he works for the City of Avon Lake and how lucky we are to have him so committed to the city. Here is my conversation with Ted Esborn.
I am Ted Esborn. I am the Community Development Director for the City of Avon Lake.
Welcome, Ted. Thanks for joining us. Could you provide an overview of the Community Development Department at Avon Lake?
Sure. The Community Development Department is a recently formed department in the city. It was put together really between 2021 and 2022. The main idea was to take three city functions and put them in the same department. So that was planning, zoning, and economic development. In 2020 and earlier, those three functions were in three separate departments. And in 2020, the council president, Marty O'Donnell, spearheaded an ad hoc business navigation committee that looked to improve the points of contact between the city and businesses. It was really a fruitful effort. I think there were 9 final recommendations of the committee, and one of them was the creation of a community development department.
What are some of the specific services and programs that the Community Development Department provides for Avon Lake businesses?
Sure. The economic development part of the city administration has always maintained a toolbox of services for businesses. I would start with the business incentive programs that we have. And really, there are 2 that are pretty constant that we've had for the entire time that I've been in Avon Lake. One is a property tax abatement program, and that's run through the state of Ohio. That's the Community Reinvestment Area or CRA property tax abatement program. And that's really designed for new businesses or existing businesses that are building new. The whole idea of that program is that the value that you're bringing to a property by expanding a business on it, we are able to abate the extra taxes that you would pay for that addition or new building. And then we have our Jobs Growth Incentive Program. That's based on payroll tax. For every single business in the city, in April, we look at the prior year's payroll tax collection from that business, and we compare it to the year before. And if there is an increase year over year, we give that business a grant of at least 35% of the increase automatically. There's no application. It's just something that we evaluate for all businesses across the board every year. And then beyond that, we have what I consider to be our more fun services, which is we do business spotlights where we go out and I work with our communications and technology team to film like an informational little video at businesses. For businesses that are looking to hire, we actually have a service where we will send out your job listing to an email list of Avon Lakers primarily who are looking for jobs. And then the Shop Local program, where we really just try and have some fun and get our local shops and restaurants some exposure through a community program. So I think our services range from the big and formal things like the tax abatement program, then down to a shop local program that's really just fun and is meant to, get the word out there about all of our different businesses.
Could you talk about the value the community development department creates that accrues beyond the businesses that you directly serve? What are the values to the community, to the county, to residents? How do they benefit from the work that you do?
Sure. When I was doing economic development exclusively, I pretty much only worked with businesses and commercial properties. And with the creation of the community development department, we do a lot of work that is residential and deals with residential. If you look at both sort of now the planning function and the zoning function, at Planning Commission, we're reviewing and approving the newest residential subdivisions with input from all the city departments, and we're responding to input from other residents. On the zoning side, we are the folks here at City Hall that get and take the complaints about my neighbor's tall grass, my neighbors parking their car on their lawn. These are services that our department provides that are really in the everyday lives of Avon Lake residents.
What's something about the department that most people don't know that they should know?
Oh, good question. I think that what I'd like people to know most about the department is the biggest reason we created it was before, with those three functions in three different places, there unfortunately would sometimes be circumstances where, the planning person would say, take this over to the zoning people. They're the ones that really need to deal with this. And I think that the personnel that we had, they worked well together. But I think just the nature of being in different departments, it comes with those barriers and limits to the scope of each one where you are bouncing things from department to department. The idea here is that by doing planning, zoning, and development in one place, the same group of people is really responsible for achieving all those goals and resolving all of the issues, which is difficult. But I think that I would like residents to know that because I think it is working. You are not getting as much of the, to use the term, silo effect because we here in community development are forced to resolve issues, making the decision about whether something needs zoning first or needs planning first. So I think that's the thing I would want people to know about the most.
Cool. Going forward, what trends do you see, and how do you see your department adjusting or being flexible to address these changes?
Sure. A big broad trend that I think everybody is aware of is that I think the way most people say it is that the city is almost built out, and there is a lot of truth to that. So that is an overarching trend in Avon Lake, indeed. We have a dwindling amount of residentially zoned land and an equally dwindling amount of commercial land. That's just where Avon Lake is. I enjoy the strategy that involves existing infrastructure and existing structures. What we're doing at the power plant site, it's much more interesting to me than having tons of greenfield land zoned for retail. I think what we're doing over on the west end of town there is really interesting stuff.
Let's switch over and talk about you. What's your background and what led you to Avon Lake?
I'm from Northeast Ohio. I grew up in Cleveland Heights. I went off to college and went to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. I came home And really, I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I came home after graduating, and I took about a year just to figure that out. And it was about a year later that I took my first job with local government and economic development. I started my career in Mayfield Village. I started off focusing on grant writing and just slowly got more and more involved in the organization. I think after being there for about 3 years, I became really the economic development person there. And I stayed there for a little more than 8 years before I came to Avon Lake in 2016. And, you ask what brought me to Avon Lake. A colleague of mine told me about the opening. I didn't know much about the city. I had to look up online and confirm that it was in Lorain County and not Cuyahoga County. But when I came out here and looked and drove around and really experienced the town for the first time, the thing that I remember striking me was driving by the Ford plant, driving by the power plant, and driving by Avient and Lubrizol and the old B.F. Goodrich plant. They don't have things like that in Mayfield Village. Mayfield Village is where the headquarters of Progressive Insurance were. I came here to Avon Lake, and one of the first things I saw was just these industrial giants of properties, these decades-old industrial engines of our local economy. And just immediately, I thought to myself, it would be great to work in a community that involved these pieces. And of course, I could see that there was also, you had a few different thriving retail areas, and I liked that. And it was just, I could tell when I came here for the first time that there was a lot to work with. There was a lot of potential growth.
So since you've been with the city, what surprised you?
Something I've been saying since my second month on the job is that Avon Lake has a prideful sense of place that is rare. And I find that Avon Lakers don't even know that it's rare. There is more of a sense of Avon Lake being a town and not just a suburb. I think another thing that has surprised me just as time has gone on is that there's just wonderful housing, and just like a wonderful variety of housing. That's something that I didn't know right away because I didn't really get into the neighborhood streets as much, but I do that more now. And there's just really lovely neighborhoods all over the city.
Finally, where could interested listeners get more information and get a hold of you?
Sure. The best place is to go to the City of Avon Lake's website, which is www.avonlake.org. And if you click on government, you can look at community development, you can look at planning specifically, and you can look at zoning.
Thanks for joining us, Ted, and thanks for the good work that you do.
Sure thing. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the LorainCounty.com Business Insights Podcast. We hope you found this conversation informative and that it provided some ideas that will help your business continue to grow. Please follow us on your favorite podcast platform to hear each episode where we shine a spotlight on local resources that will boost your business. And we want to hear from you. Email ed@loraincounty.com to share your feedback and topic ideas.